What if you could write a solo like Slash in under 30 minutes? Slash has written some of the most iconic and unforgettable guitar solos of all time. And after being obsessed with his guitar playing for over 20 years, studying his style, breaking down his solos, and listening to absolutely everything, I've discovered what I call his secret solo formula. It's a simple, repeatable, 5-step process that anybody can do, and he uses it in nearly every single solo. And if you copy it, your own soloing and improvisation is going to sound much more like Slash. But more importantly, more musical as well. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how it works by using it to write a Slash style solo from scratch in under 30 minutes. And this is the same process I use every time I write or improvise a solo, but I go much deeper into it with more examples in my How to Play Like Slash masterclass, which you can find more about using the link below. So the song I'm going to use to write this solo is actually Post Malone and Ozzy Osbourne. It's called Take What You Want From Me. It's in the key of D minor. It's actually C sharp minor, but I've got my guitar in half a step down like Slash would have done most of the time. So I'm playing all my ideas in D. And the progression is fairly simple. It's got like a kind of rising thing and then it repeats, but the second time round it goes lower. So it sounds like this. I'm going to stick primarily to the D natural minor scale, but there are a couple of opportunities to play D harmonic minor scale if you want to think about it in scale terms, but that's for another video. I just want to point out that Slash has been known to do one-take guitar solos, but that doesn't always mean that he goes into the studio and improvises the solo every single time and just comes out with complete magic. This guy practices every single day, and it's not to say that he hasn't had these ideas in his head for a long time and been playing around with different things before he gets into the studio. So when he is playing over the track, he's got a lot of tools under his belt that he can pick from, and that's how you get good at one-take solos. So don't feel bad about it, because you don't have to think that you always have to go into the studio and do a one-take. And if you can't do that, you're not a good guitarist, because it takes years and years of practice to be able to improvise and write solos like this. But this is what's going to help. And the thing is, Slash will be using this system, but he won't be doing it consciously. It's something that he's done over and over and over again that he doesn't have to think about anymore. And when you practice this and get it down, that's what you'll be able to do as well. So let's start the clock, and here we go. So the first step is to establish the style. So you want to listen to the song in full, whatever it is, put the guitar down, and I want you to use active listening. I don't want you to just passively sit there and go, okay, yeah, it's in D minor, then pick up your guitar and start noodling over the top thinking you know what to do. I want you to really get close to the song, get close to the music. I want you to listen for a couple of things. Firstly, what sort of approach do you want to take to it? What style is it in? Is it going to be a fast thing, a melodic, slower piece? Is it going to be effects led? What sort of avenue do you want to go down? And then secondly, see if you can pick up on any melodies that are in your head whilst you're listening to the chord progression. And if you need to, sing them, record them in, but don't pick up your guitar yet. Because what happens is when people pick up the guitar first, they start improvising and going to their favourite licks and reverting back to what they always do and their habits. We don't want to do that. So we're going to have a listen through. It's a great track. See, what I've been able to do by listening is I've been able to recognise where the dynamics of the song build, so I can bear that in mind when I'm writing the solo and think, right, okay, the intensity of the track is going up, therefore I want the intensity of my guitar solo to go up, or maybe not, maybe something opposite to make that stand out. But listening through, I've got a couple of melodic ideas that I'm going to play around with. The first, something like that was what I've heard first. Let me just give that some context. Something like that is what came to mind. And then I had another idea. I don't know where it was going to go. Can't remember. sort of stuff. So I've got those two main ideas. I don't know where they're going to go yet. What you can do is record. If you've got some way of recording, you can start to record your ideas so you don't forget them. But then the next step is to think about the opening phrase. Once you've got your melodic ideas, if nothing comes to you, by the way, pick up your guitar and do a little bit of improvising, but try and get out of what you normally would play. Don't play any licks at the moment. Try and find the melodies first. That's the most important thing, because Slash would lead all of his guitar solos melody first, then licks. But the second part of this is think about how you want to open the guitar solo. Like, I think this is what most people would do at the beginning of this track. I kind of want to stay away from that as much as possible because that's what everybody would do. So I'm going to think melody first. I'm going to go with that first melody I wrote, which... something like that. We've got that drum fill to begin with. Do I want to start with a bend? Do I want to start with a slide? Do I want to anticipate the first beat of the bar and lead into it? But I think what I'm going to do, rather than starting right on the beat, I'm going to do a little lead in. I'm going to just have a little play about with that to begin with. Okay, so that's maybe one idea. So what I want to try and stay away from is, by the way, I've decided to use the wah, if you've not noticed, because I just feel like when I was listening, that's all I could hear. But I'm staying away from doing too many notes because I don't want to step on the toes of that drum fill. I quite like that. So I'm just going to stick to a small lead in. I think I'm going to do... something like that. I think is nice and clean. That slide... it's quite typical. I could get away with it, but like I say, I want to leave room for the drums. As I said, I'm going to keep it simple for this video. I just want to show you the steps. I go much more in depth in my course with more examples as well. Thirdly, this is the big one. This is probably the best piece of advice I can talk about when it comes to writing solos and improvising. It makes you more conscious and aware about what you're doing, what you're playing, and it leads to much better, memorable solos. So definitely try this. Once you come up with a melody, your main melody, for example this, that's idea one. Then you come up with a variation of that idea. So for example, maybe choose a different note to end on or bend up slightly differently. Let me try that again. So you've got idea one, then you've got the variation. Depending on the chord progression and the time you've got, you could either go back to idea one again, or you could round off the phrase. So this is my phrase so far. Ready for idea number two. So we're constantly building on a repetitive phrase. We're choosing a repetitive phrase, recycling it, and what it does for the listener is it makes it seem familiar, and people can remember familiar things better rather than just noodling around all over the place. There's nothing for them to sing to, there's nothing for the brain to cotton onto. Great examples of this are November Rain, the first solo, idea one, idea two, rounding off the idea. Landslide is another great example by Slash's Snakepit. But it does it all over the place. I've been having listened through a little bit and I'll come up with my next sort of melody. which follows the chord progression, but it kind of goes the opposite way. Rather than going down like the chords do, I'm going upwards. And I wanted to do this sort of like skipping pattern, where I'm using the notes from the scale, but I'm going back on myself and bending up. Mess about with that for a little bit. I'm going to improvise some stuff and see how I can weave those 2 or 3 sections together. The next thing to think about is if we want to make something sound like Slash, we could probably introduce some of his signature phrases. And that's going to give it that stamp, because in between all his melodies, he comes back to his key signature licks fairly often. So we've got a lot to choose from. If you want plenty of go-to Slash inspired licks, definitely check out the masterclass, because I've got over 40 Slash licks there that you can practice, learn, play in any key. But we want to be careful with them, because what a lot of people do is just use a lick, then another lick, then another lick, and they don't go from one to the other in a musical way. So we need to be very mindful of what we're doing. And that's where recording can come in handy, because you can listen back to what you've done, see where things are a little bit disconnected and fix it. So you can take what you like and then just workshop it a little bit and make it more musical. So let's see where we can inject some of his phrases. Lastly, you want to think about how you're ending phrases or ending the entire solo. Do we want to end with a bang? Do we want to end with a bend? I think in this, it comes to quite an abrupt finish. So I think that's what I'm going to do as well. I'm going to lead up, because the dynamics of the track build. So that's what I'm going to do as well. I'm going to build up and I'm going to go to the higher end of the fretboard and I'm going to end with a bend. Once you think of how you want to end, you can think of how to get there, and then there's no surprises for you. You know, you're not just ending because you've ran out of bars to improvise with. You're thinking consciously about how you want to end and then how you're going to get there. No idea how I'm going to do it yet, but I'm going to end on this note. So let's have a look at a few ways of how I could end. That's an option. It's a little bit obvious though. Maybe I could combine it with something. Sorry about that. Okay, I think I've got how I want to end. I just need to tidy it up a little bit. Crikey. I'm getting close to my half-an-hour window. I'm just going to tidy those last few bits up and I'll show you the full thing. When I go to that next section, the chord changes to the A. I've implied an A major chord or stolen notes from D harmonic minor, the C sharp, and I'm picking out the arpeggio of an A major chord on that A chord. Normally the notes would be, but I'm going. And Slash would do that a lot over the 5 chord. So I'm just going to put that in there. we've done the 5 steps, but the last thing is, does it pass the Slash test? Now, what we should be doing is recording the ideas and listening back and thinking, does that actually sound like Slash? Would Slash do that? Now, he won't be thinking that. He'll be thinking, does it sound the way I want it to sound? Obviously, that is true, but I'm talking about how to solo like Slash. Does it sound like Slash did it? Maybe you're happy with it the way it is, and that's fine. Maybe it doesn't sound like Slash at all, and this thing works regardless of who you want to sound like, even if you want to create your own style. But does it pass the Slash test? Doing this is all well and good, but if you don't have enough fretboard awareness, it's going to make it a lot more difficult. So I highly recommend checking out my How to Play Like Slash masterclass. There's a link in the description. It's all the stuff I wish I had when I started learning guitar and wanting to sound like Slash. But in the meantime, definitely watch this video next, because it's going to give you some more tips to get started with this.